Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Hi, my name is Kyle Ferriter. Welcome to Amateur Sumo Breakdown with my guest today, Jake from Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Yeah, how's it going, Kyle? Great to be here on the show.
Man, I'm happy you could make it out. I know that we haven't really talked too much recently, but we talked a couple weeks before Nationals, so I figured I'd get you on the horn and we'd go ahead and go over that and the Antioch Sumo Club.
Absolutely. I met you once or twice. You seem like an okay guy, so I figured, I'd join your show here.
Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it might as well. I got to give Mac a little bit of grief for this, but he couldn't make it to the last couple. So, I mean, you're effectively my co-host at this point.
That's the goal.
It's an unpaid position, but I mean, you're doing okay at it. So
cool.
Thought I'd bring you back here.
I figured for my third time on the show, I'd go ahead and do the intro.
Yeah. I trusted you to run with the ball. You passed. You did okay.
Perfect. That was the goal.
Room for improvement. But today we are here to talk. Never. Yeah, exactly. If I told you were perfect, you'd just stagnate. It'd go straight to your head.
Exactly. I got to be always improving.
Today we are here to talk about the 2023 Nationals / North American Championships. And we're also going to talk about the Kuma Sumo Bash, the first all-youth tournament, as far as I know, on the continental United States for sumo. So, a lot of material. Kyle, you and I were both at both of these events, so I figured we could combine them, talk about both of them, see where we think things are going, and especially because like one of the big storylines, one of the big threads here is youth sumo. So yeah, Nationals had more youth than it's had in 10, 15 years. So like that was awesome. And then having Tennessee Antioch High Sumo Club put on a tournament, awesome. Yeah, super cool thing to see developing here, and I'm sure we're going to see more of that. More merch for my wall. I got a little something from both tournaments. I got Kyle's bare butt on my wall every time I podcast now. What do you think about that one, Kyle? How did pushing everyone to market your bare butt go on for Nationals on that?
Yeah, that was definitely intentional. I messaged Dustin when he was making the poster and was just like, find a picture of my bare ass and just post it there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's
no one told me. He just like sends a picture in our group chat because we've got the Iron Wave group chat, and he's just, hey, how's this poster for Nationals looking? I'm like, I guess good.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, you're not normally somebody who goes traditional just on the regular.
That's
right?
The one tournament I've done it for was a sumo dance tournament at the All American last year, and he had a great photographer come out, so we took that picture for it.
It's a great picture. I'm not gonna lie, it's a great picture, but I can understand. I can understand doing a double take when it's when you're normally not putting that much skin out there.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. But so as we discussed in our preview for Nationals, Kyle, as part of Iron Wave Sumo, you were one of the organizers. So now that the event is in the past, why don't you tell us a little bit about the lead up? How does that go now that you have like hindsight? What did it feel like getting ready for such a big event, and how do you feel it went just overall?
So as one of the people that was helping organize, it was really me, Cornelius Karinga, and Dustin putting in a ton of work trying to make it happen. And I will tell you one thing, it was extremely stressful, even for me. I'd say almost more so for me because I had to have the computer with me, traveling to there, handling weigh-ins, all that. And then once Jake and I were handling the live stream and everything together for the first couple of things, and then having to turn that switch on to compete was not easy, but I did my best. Considering the circumstances, I did have an injury I was dealing with, but so I didn't do as well as I like to do, but you know how it goes. Congratulations to my teammate, Mark Jones, who won both the heavyweight and the open weight, though. Absolute killer out there.
Yeah. As far as results go, yeah, that's probably the headliner. But yeah, I think, cause yeah, the tournament itself was in Orlando. You obviously, out of Colorado Springs. What was it like planning an event that you were 1,000 miles away from?
It was definitely interesting, but with how far technology's come in the last 10 years, it was very, very doable. I've got my phone right here. Cornelius, Ryan, Karinga, and I, we would just get on calls, and it's like, hey, what do we need to do next time we're here? And then for some reason, Frontier, yes, I know we all like to talk crap about the budget airlines, but their headquarters is up in Denver, and their secondary is down in Orlando. So they run like 8 flights a day for like $70. So I went down there once before actually going down to compete, to check out the venue and get with Cornelius on and Karinga and just say, hey, what do we need to do? What do you need my help with? Like we were able to get some competition t-shirts made in the very last minute, but we did try to get all that taken care of. So
they are pretty badass t-shirts, I gotta say.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the only t-shirt I own as Iron Wave that says Iron Wave anywhere on it, and it's the national championships.
Yeah. got a bit of merch catching up to do now that you're part of Iron Wave West.
They don't have any other merch. This is the only shirt we have. This is Iron Wave, because they did that rebrand after you talked to them, I want to say about 1.5 years ago, right when it turned from Florida Sumo into Iron Wave, and there's nothing that says Iron Wave. So this is the closest thing I've got to a team wear.
other priorities were ahead, such as, hosting the national tournament. So yeah, that's pretty big one there.
And I mean, obviously it didn't go perfectly, but we did. We definitely tried to do a lot. A lot of people know I'm trying to host it in Colorado next year. So I'm still working on trying to get a survey out to see what I can improve on. There's a lot that it's just, well, that didn't go well. I need to improve on that. Yeah. Jake and I were actually staying together, like splitting a hotel room. So we were talking about everything I could improve for next year for a couple hours after that tournament.
Oh man, I one of my favorite parts of the weekend was how you and I just wanted to talk sumo like we were like middle schoolers having a slumber party, and it was just like, all right, well, guys, we should go to sleep. we gotta wrestle tomorrow. No, it was a great weekend, and just as like a recap of what went on in general. On Thursday and Friday, we had weigh-ins over at Karinga's gym. Right next to Karinga's gym was 1010 Brewing, which was one of the sponsors of the event. Helped out with space for the national meeting, which always happens the night before nationals. And that's the last we'll talk about the national meeting, because that is not what we are here for. We are a positive podcast. But no, so we got the business done, and then we get the wrestling the next day. So we show up Saturday for the big event. We're at Orlando Indoor Soccer. Got to give a shout out to the venue, because that venue was pretty solid. What was it like working with them, and how would you compare them to other venues that you've worked with?
So it was my idea to go with a soccer venue after our original. We were originally planning to be at one of the Orlando community centers, but they had a basketball tournament they didn't even realize was going on that day. So they called us and canceled our booking. So we were just scrambling, trying to find a new place to book it. Ended up posting it at the Orlando Indoor Soccer. They helped us out a ton, gave us a pretty good rate on it, and they rented us out this whole facility for the duration of the day. Said don't have to worry about getting out of here at a reasonable time, this, that, and the other. So one thing that I've noticed in a lot of sumo tournaments is they tend to go on way longer than anyone's anticipating. And
yeah.
Even though Jake here did an excellent job of making sure there weren't any really long lapses in time, we did have, well, what did we get to? 300 something matches?
I think roughly 300 and maybe 20-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having the North Americans having to run multiple extra brackets with and doing what we wanted to do with the youth, we ended up having so many matches, and I want to say that the entire event lasted like 10 hours. So
I think it was roughly, I think matches started at like, was it like either 9:30 or 10:30 a.m.?
They were supposed to start at 9, so we got them started by 10, in traditional sumo fashion of being late.
Yeah, exactly. Started by 10, and I'm pretty sure we wrapped by around like 7 was when we were like working on getting everything cleaned up and stuff. Yeah, it was a long event. And I want to
say again, thank you, Jake, so much for he handled the live stream, and he handled running the brackets after I started going away, and He did so much more behind the scenes than he'll ever take credit for, but I just wanted to say thank you again to you.
You're on the money there, more than I'll ever take credit for. But so let me frame it as we're going through like how the weekend went. So like at the beginning of the day is when we get our crew assembled, and that's when we kind of realize the scope of what's going to be happening today. And that's as much as Kyle wants to thank me, I got to thank you for getting us started on the smooth comp technology. That was awesome. Without that particular program, that would have been a much more difficult day for everybody. But I think we've talked about it a little bit in the past because the SoCal Open in San Diego was also run on smooth comp. But that technology I didn't really realize until the day of when we were running through it. But it mixed divisions together slightly. Towards the end of one division, it would start peppering in matches from the next division, which for most of the day, not all of the day, because not all the divisions mix together easily, but for most of the day, that gave our finalists a little time to rest in between matches rather than the traditional double elimination finale where you got guys going back to back to back. So that was really cool.
I know that we've had talked to a few people about it, and they didn't really like that as much because it was kind of difficult to find matches after the fact. And that is the one problem that I have with doing it that way. But on the opposite side, it does give the live stream constant action while we've got, for example, the women's lightweight finals. We've got that going on, and then we're starting to get some of the men's lightweight, so the women's lightweight aren't just going back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And with the double elimination to gold format that we use, you've got to, and we actually ran into it at the end of a men's heavyweight, where you've got the person that's on the losing side of the bracket has to wrestle 4 times back to back if they win that second one.
Right.
And it's just exhausting for them.
Heavyweight was one of the times that I wish we could have had a little bit more mixing because I think it was McKinney and Gilberto that had they had epic matches. They each had 3 or 4 towards the end of the bracket that were just super long, grueling, and it would have been great if we could slide in 3 or 4 other divisions or something like that to give them a little bit of a breather. But yeah, in general, it seems like it made it really easy to run it as somebody doing the brackets. And I know at least in a few situations, it made it easier for the athletes day of to get from match to match. But yeah, finding stuff after the fact as somebody that goes back through and logs data from every event, yeah, it does get a little confusing. So I can understand that for sure.
And I know that we're working you're working for Corey on that next on his Roller Town event that's coming up. Very excited for that. You've got graphics coming up for these matches, which I think that will also be really fun to watch during the live stream, but B, when you're coming back and rewatching it, you'll see your picture on the bottom left pop up, and it's like, okay, there, I need to start recording my match again, and this, that, and the other. So I think that as we get a little bit more technology worked in, and Jake's been a huge help with all of this, it's going to make it a lot easier in the future, especially for the live stream playbacks.
The real issue that it came down to every time you and I were chatting about what to do next year, we just kept circling back and back and back to we need 4 Jakes on scene. That would really do it. So yeah, non-competitors helping out in the booth is where a lot of the improvements can be made. So yeah, there's room to grow there, but yeah, it was I'll say for running as many matches as we did, I certainly am gonna endorse smooth comp as something for running events in the future, because yeah, it made it easy to keep stuff moving, and there was little downtime. But yeah, the speaking of downtime though, one of the coolest things that I thought we did for this event, there was a second dojo there, just off to the side on the other field. So even if only 2 out of 70, 80 competitors, even if only 2 of them are in the ring at a given time, there's another dojo over there. Everybody can stay loose. Everybody can get some practice in, do some sparring with people that they normally don't get to see, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how that idea came about and how you guys made that happen.
So, excuse me. We actually had to get the dojo that we competed on shipped in. There's some weird. I'm not going to go into bylaws, but basically there's a bylaw that says you have to use a dojo of a specific brand, and you cannot make any other. Which personally I don't get, but we have Florida Sumo has a dojo. It's sitting down there in Panama City Beach. I think it's in Orlando right now, but it's in Florida constantly. We didn't have the one that's approved for nationals, so we had to get that one shipped in from somewhere out of town. We got that one set up, so it's in the middle of everything, and got the cameras set there aside from it. But we wanted people to see there are other options for dojos, especially if you're hosting like independent tournaments. You don't have to buy the Sampuku brand. You can get a little bit less expensive one, and that's one of the reasons that we had that second dojo sitting there was we wanted it for warm-ups. And then something that I wanted to go into on there's some, as a lot of people know, I'm a high school wrestling coach. A lot of high school tournaments that are more national level events that people are traveling to, they'll have a separate room with mats for challenge matches. That it's just, hey, I went 2 and out today. I want to get some more matches, so I'm going to go over to this other mat, just challenge some random person. May not even be in my weight class, but I came here for matches. I didn't come here just to wrestle 4 matches and go home because I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I want to get as many matches as possible. So we're a really big fan of trying to get, or me personally, I'm a big fan of trying to get some challenge matches going. And I know, for example, Edibar couldn't compete kind of last minute after he'd already bought his plane tickets, but he was over there running challenge matches with everyone, whether it was kids, adults, whoever wanted to come over and wrestle. My new guy that I brought with me, Blake from Colorado Springs, was going over there and did okay in the lightweight division. And then after he was done in the open weight, wanted to get more matches. So I sent him over and I'm like, hey, this is Edibar. Just wrestle him for a couple. And he, I feel like he learned a lot during that.
Yeah. Him in particular, Edo is top 3 probably lightweights in the country. And he was there. So why not have some fun? Why not learn from one of the best? That's super cool to me.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I thought that was great. It kept a lot of people entertained over the course of a very, very long day. But yeah, let's see. What else should we talk about on the day of? I just for clarity, I don't want to run through every single result or anything like that. Those results are out there. We don't need to talk about all of them. You can see a list of them. Why don't we talk about some of the highlights though? At the beginning of the day, for most like lightweight, middleweight, Kyle was helping me at the desk. We were getting the bracket system smoothed out so that I could do it on my own, or I could recruit somebody else who's not wrestling currently. So that beginning of the day was a little bit frantic. But as the day went on, as everybody got more relaxed, I know for me at least, I got to watch more sumo, and that was always more fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so other than when you're competing, when you're just sitting there as a spectator, what were some of the fun things you remember or fun wrestlers that you liked watching wrestle?
Well, again, as a high school wrestling coach, I want to grow the youth division of any sport as much as possible. So I was extremely impressed. Zaria Whittington was only signed up for the junior lightweights. And at weigh-ins, I was just like, hey, do you want to sign up for all these other divisions? And very last minute, she's just like, yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm like, I will sign you up for them. No problem at all. She comes in and what did she get? 2nd or 3rd, and wins a ton of matches in women's adult lightweight and really put on a show. So I was really happy to see a youth just go up to the adult divisions and still do very, very well.
Yeah, she walked out with 3 medals. So she got the U.S. bronze at women's lightweight, adult lightweight. She got, where did I just see her again? So she got gold at women's youth lightweight. There was one other competitor, Ree Clements, in that division. So like that, they did have to go against each other. It wasn't just she was the only one who showed up. And then also let's see, I saw her one more time. There we go. In the North American women's lightweight, she got 2nd.
Didn't she get like 4th in the women's open weight for North American too?
Women's open 3rd, even 3rd. Better.
Yeah, so 4 medals. Just as a 16-year-old that had never done sumo before, I love walking in. And of course, I'm very involved in folk style, so rooting for anyone that does folk style wrestling.
Sure. Yeah, and that's where she comes from, right? Is more traditional collegiate style wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Walking in with I guess I'll try one division and then leaving with 4 medals plus which special award did she get? She got Fighting Spirit as well. And Fighting Spirit and Outstanding Performance prizes awarded by the judges. One of the highlights for sure, and really excited to see somebody that's already I don't know, already got that like that collegiate wrestling head start, you know? Like that's one of the best bases you can get for sumo out of like more common American sports. And I just thought that was really cool, and hoping she sticks with it, because she could be a monster. She's already beaten quite a few adults in her divisions here, so that was awesome. You mentioned earlier Mark Jones, the I would say elephant in the room, I guess gorilla in the room. He just officially started his own club, branching off from Iron Wave Sumo, so he doesn't have to drive quite so far to Orlando to get sumo practice. But Gorilla Sumo started out in Daytona Beach, and pretty solid start for the first competitor from a new club, I guess you could say. Walked out with the men's open weight and men's heavyweight gold, and is I guess I haven't heard, has he decided if he's doing both or which tournaments he's going for?
I believe he's doing both tournaments, but you're not allowed to compete in both the heavyweight and open weight division at Worlds. Okay. So I have no idea if he's doing both or which one he's doing, and he hasn't told anyone yet.
I gotcha. Okay, that's still up in the air.
Basically, it's between McKinney and Gilberto, because they got second to him in heavyweight and open weight respectively. Sure. So it's who's going to win, or who's. I don't know if he wants to try to force him into some sort of challenge match at the Open or something. I don't know, but I'm very curious to see what he does.
That'd be cool. That'd be one opportunity if they could get one match on the big stage at the U.S. Open to determine that. Yeah. So I'm sorry. The context on this is the winners in each of these divisions are the United States national champions. And the United States national champions are the ones that are entitled to go and represent our country in their weight class in the World Championships in Japan in October. But also, the reason that we said United States Championships and North American Championships are because the World Combat Games has to be difficult and take representatives from a continent rather than a country. So we had to include Canadians, and we had to include the slightly different weight class setup they have, just making things difficult for no reason. But so effectively, people were competing for the opportunity to go to Tokyo to compete at the World Championships, and the right to go to Saudi Arabia for the World Combat Games, which we covered it a little bit in our preview. I also covered it in the last newsletter, the gist of what's going on. But regardless, Mark took any judgment out of the situation by just winning both divisions. And so he has the right to pick whichever way he wants to do it. So, but either way, absolute monster at the tournament. Did you face him personally?
Yeah, Mark's actually who knocked me out of the winner side of the bracket, and then I drew my other teammate Jordan.
Jordan Sykes.
Yeah. Yep. So it really sucks because Mark and I are very good friends. We train together every time I'm down in Florida, and shoot each other messages just like, "Hey, here's something I've been struggling with. Do you have any tips?" And so we've always gotten along very, very well. So it really sucks to see one of your teammates. I believe it was in the semifinals. I'm not sure though.
I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, I mean, you obviously you guys did pretty well. You're some of the best in heavyweight, but so inevitably you were going to run into some of your other teammates there.
Yeah, so I ran into Mark Jones. Then that dropped me down to the loser side of the bracket where I had to face off against my other teammate Jordan Sykes, and unfortunately I lost both those matches. But you know, it is what it is. But I'm very happy that both of them, Jordan got fourth, Mark got first. So it's great to see my teammates thriving even when I don't do so well.
Tell us a little bit more. If I'm remembering right, was it that match with Mark where you guys were like he was kind of goofing a little bit, and you decided you were serious? Is that that one? Like he wasn't ready for you to be like quite as gung ho at the beginning of the match. Is that right?
No, Mark Jones is the one that I did that really stupid thing of starting at the back of the dojo because I wanted to get a charge on
that
someone
one.
that's
Okay.
really good at football, and thought, you know what, I'm going to take away my good ability to wrestle and just try to do a football push with him, and obviously that didn't work out.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'm mixing it up with another one. I remember Mark was kind of there was one match he was talking about where he was like, kind of walking back and forth after the Chirichozu, and he was like, "All right, okay, yep, I guess we'll wrestle now. We'll have some fun." And then he turns and like sees the other guy glaring daggers at him, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I guess we got to wrestle right now." Shoot, I wish I could remember who that was. I thought that was his match with you. So yeah, that's just me.
I think it is. I think it is that match because he got really confused because I like got down halfway in the position, stepped back, and then he like starts looking around and then looks back, and I'm already in the stance. So
yeah, okay, yeah, it is that one. He was like, "Okay, I guess we're gonna let it breathe for a minute," and he turns around and it's like, "Oh, yep, okay, sorry." I don't know. Either way, Mark, I hadn't had a chance to really meet him much until this tournament, and it was great to see. He's definitely one of the more the stereotype, the joke we make about a lot of sumo wrestlers is that they're deadly in the ring, and then the second that it's over, everybody turns back into teddy bears. And that's Mark to a T. One of the nicest guys I've ever met in sumo. He's just a blast. And then he took us out to lunch the next day.
Yeah. After the tournament, my flight got canceled, so Jake and I went down to Daytona Beach and just hung out with Mark for the day.
Yeah. I think I ended up getting delayed by a couple hours, but yeah, we woke up in the morning and we already knew we had a couple hours to kill, and then Kyle checks his flight. It's like, oh well, we have the entire day now, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was one of the lowlights of the day for sure. Travel just in general sucks, but
it happens. My flight got canceled, so I had to move it to the next day. They delay it 4 hours more, so I just went to Disney the second day that it was canceled or delayed, and just had a good time. There's worse places to be stranded than Orlando.
That's very true, and the weather was just lovely the entire time. It was great. Let's see, a couple other highlights I wanted to hit. Let's start from the lower divisions and go up. Helen Del Popolo won lightweight. I'm curious. I would love to know how many different weight classes she has now won a national title in, because she has just gotten smaller and wilier as she's gotten older. I thought that was pretty cool seeing her down in lightweight this year. We had a three-peat. What's that?
As a former judo player, she's very, very good on her feet, and she goes for a lot of those weird throws. I remember there was one where she's facing off against Zarya, does an Uchimata, picks up her back leg, and Zarya is like about to reach out to break her fall, realizes, oh, this is sumo, not wrestling, sucks her arm back in.
That was really cool. Zarya still lost the match, but like her instinct at that very last second was really cool to see her process and understand, like, oh, I can't touch the ground for stability because I lose. I mean, she went down first anyways, but she went down first by a smaller margin than she would have, I guess, just because she was thinking on her feet like that. One of the pictures that I'm using as the front page of the next newsletter is Helen and Logan locked in a judo battle. One of the coolest pictures I've seen in sumo. So that's keep an eye out for that one. Men's lightweight, complete newcomer, Zach Laguerre out of New York. Never heard of him. And he just comes down and wins bronze. Looks like a killer. That really cool. I hope he sticks around. And his division had a three-peat champion, Joe Ponsetto, 3rd year in a row, lightweight champ. Huge achievement there, because that is a very competitive division.
Yeah, Joe's very, very good. He's very wiry. It's kind of fun to watch him wrestle. He's extremely tall for 185, so he's constantly getting into these weird positions, but knows what to do once he gets there. So it's awesome seeing him getting the 3rd title.
Yep. In middle/light heavyweight, Eric Wynn is again the story. Absolutely annihilated almost everybody he came across. So he won the United States National Championship in light heavy and the North American Championship in middle, which is the same weight class, but we had to run it separately. And he just burnt through both of those divisions.
And speaking of the middleweight division,
Mhm.
where he faced his also light heavyweight division, faced his new student, Sensei Seth or Seth Adams.
Yeah.
Big YouTuber, never done sumo before. Tried it out like 6-8 months ago for a video and ended up falling in love with it, training with Eric constantly. Came in and I don't know what he got in. I believe it was second.
He got second place at the national light heavy title. And I don't know if he competed in the men's middleweight North American, but he did not podium on that one.
I don't remember, but
regardless,
way,
though,
facing off against his coach in the finals was very fun to see. And posted a video on it on YouTube. It's already got like 100,000 views. The people watching our national title that we put on, so it was awesome having someone that's got a big following like that come in and compete and do very, very well.
Yeah, I am super optimistic that he'll get some more eyes on sumo, especially with he's new to sumo, but he's got an extensive experience with all sorts of martial arts, and that clearly helped him. He took one match off of Eric even in those finals where double elimination, so Seth had to beat Eric twice in a row to beat him. And Eric, like, they got into a scramble, and I think Eric stepped out, even though they both kind of went down. Eric stepped out first, so they had to rematch. And in that rematch, Eric was like, "I am not messing around on this one. This is my medal. This is not gonna be ambiguous. We're just taking care of this right now." And he just blasted Seth straight backwards. And then had a similarly awesome series in the North American finals with Danny Avila, who is also just a tank who's raging back onto the scene after taking that time off for illness. So just excellent showing for both those guys.
It's great to see now that Danny's starting to adapt a little more to his new light heavyweight body, because he was wrestling heavyweight and doing great up there. Now that he's adapting more to that light heavy body, it's great to see him coming out and doing really well again. So
totally, yeah, he's huge for light heavyweight, and he certainly knows how to use it. That was really cool. On the women's side, we had yet again Kellyanne Ball taking the double championship. Excellent showing from Kellyanne. With her teammate Yelady Galindo moving to Puerto Rico, and Eros Armstrong being less active, Kellyanne is like the name to beat in women's sumo in the U.S. right now. And yeah, I don't think she lost a match. I think she took both those divisions, and I don't think she did North American open weight at the end of the night. Yeah, she only did the national heavyweight and national open weight, and got double gold. So yeah, great showing as always.
Yep. And the North American open weight was the only one that didn't really qualify you for anything. So I don't blame anyone that wanted to drop out of that. We just had 2 Canadian competitors that couldn't compete in any of the other divisions, and I hated having them come out for 3 matches and go home. So we decided to put on an open weight division for the Women's North American Championship.
Right. Yeah, so we had a lightweight and a middleweight Canadian women's wrestler, and that was part of why we had to run a couple extra divisions, because they needed their chance to qualify for the Saudi Arabia, the World Combat Games. And yeah, by the end of the night, especially for those two, and kind of just for the women in general, they just hadn't had nearly as many matches, so we tossed an extra open weight division in there to get a couple extras, and just kind of wind the night down with that. And that was that is one of my biggest regrets, is by that time of the night we had a bunch of people signed up for that division, and by that point, 9 hours into the day, a bunch of people had gone home, so that bracket was just a graveyard. There were only like 5 people out of like 15 that signed up for it, so we like had to just say, okay, you know what, just stop for a minute. I need to get this under control. And Kyle came in and saved the day and recreated a bracket for the women who were still sticking around, who wanted to wrestle some more. So big thank you for saving my ass on that one.
Well, and of course, it's towards the end of the day, so everyone's getting real excited, real kind of antsy and wanting to go home.
Yeah.
And people were thinking that Jake and I were just like mad at everyone and mad at the world. And it's like, guys, we just need to get this done so we can all go home. We're tired. But we always want to make sure that every, especially with how few competitors there are in women's sumo, we want to make sure they can get as many matches as possible.
Bingo.
So it was one of our goals to make sure we got as many matches for these women as possible. So I was really happy we were able to get that done.
Yep, absolutely. So last thing here, I want to talk about how the rest of the youth divisions went. And we'll use that to segue into the other event we are talking about for the day. But the youth division, I'm gonna dig up my old documents here on when the last time we had national champions in the youth division was, because it's been a minute. But Kyle, why don't you talk a little bit about how you guys got this organized, how you were able to drag we got like 10 youth competitors. That was just incredibly impressive to me that we were able to get that going. Bless you. But we had a really good showing for the youth competitors, and I really hope that grows. But tell me how that came about.
So I would love to take the credit on that, but that was 100% Cornelius's idea. He wanted to make sure that we could get some youth out there, and it wasn't really anything that we did in particular. We just said, "Hey, we want to put on these brackets," and it's kind of a "if you build it, they will come" type deal. Luckily, we've got Nick out of San Antonio, or I'm sorry, Nick out of Houston, putting on divisions. Two youth clubs in Tennessee, Antioch and Iron Mountain. Where were some of the other youth competitors from?
Perry out of San Antonio.
Yeah, Perry's out of San Antonio. He actually signed up for the adult division in the Mighty Eagle Open, or the Mighty Eagle team tournament. Signed up against the adults and was really happy to see him.
I think we also had one out of Yamamoto in Los Angeles, and we had one out of Salt City. Damien, the openweight champion.
George's, yeah.
George's too.
Yeah, seeing all these kids, it's really just kind of a team effort for everyone in the U.S. to try to get as many youth signed up and competing as possible. But it's extremely difficult, as we'll get into, to get a large amount of people to travel for a tournament that doesn't really have any sort of significance that's really well known.
Right.
So having the national championships have a youth division, you're going home, you send your son out, they go to Florida, compete, win they're not just winning a tournament, they're winning a national title at 15, 16 years old. And that's one thing I think is really, really awesome. Only thing that I really wish we could do is get some of the Hawaiians out, because they've got one of the Hawaiians just won the Hakuo Cup, and I would have loved to see him come out and put on a show for us too. Obviously, anytime we can get youth out there, especially being a high school coach, I really try to bring grappling as much as I can to everyone, but getting youth into it when they're still young, and they're when you're under like a certain age, you're just made of rubber and can bounce up after the hardest hit you've ever seen. So
yeah. So if you can learn it while you're still flexible. No, what I was able to find, I wouldn't call this official, but I think it might be all the way back in like 2014 that we had a national titles for youth. So pretty cool. And not all divisions were represented. Not all divisions had multiple competitors. But there's huge growth potential. So like for example, last year at 2022 in Salt Lake City, we had one women's lightweight competitor show up and 0 women's light heavyweight competitors show up. This year, we had 4 and 2. That amount of growth in just 1 year. So when I look at our youth division for this time around, and I don't see all that many people that showed up, that's a lot more than 0 last year, and it's probably a lot fewer than we'll get next year. I think we're doing the right things to grow youth sumo, and I think this year has had a good push on that. So I'm excited for that. I mentioned that
a couple other people around the country that they want to put on more youth only tournaments and get a few grants, see if we can get some help from the government to try to get more youth into sumo. I know that George was talking about possibly trying to get a organization going that's whole goal is to try to get more youth into the sport, and that's really what I want to see, is a bunch of is get a youth tournaments going, so we can have really make it a family atmosphere for everyone to try to come up and go out and compete.
Absolutely. So yeah, we didn't go through every single result in the adults division, but why don't we just run through the youth, just because I think they deserve an extra shout out. In women's lightweight, as we mentioned before, Zaria took gold over Ree Clements. Those two both were clearly like not just showing up to do the sport that, like Ree's father's Josh Clements, who's been in sumo for a while. She wasn't just like doing it to hang out or do what her dad does. She knew what she was doing. I thought that was really cool. But Zaria took the win in that one. In men's heavyweight, we had 3. We had Perry, as we mentioned, out of San Antonio, Damian out of Salt Lake City, and Aiden out of Los Angeles. And then the 2 divisions we had that only had 1 competitor, Iron Mountain took home two golds. Ben got the youth lightweight, and Josh got the youth middleweight. Those 2 guys, because they were the only ones that showed up for those divisions, they are champions by default, but by showing up, that's half the battle anyways. So I mean, that I don't want to make it sound like that's not still an achievement. Those guys have been going hard the last, maybe only 6 months or so since they got into it. And they're already doing great. They got their titles because there was nobody else in their division, but we did put on some exhibition matches. And I think Ben took 2 matches and Josh took 1. Those guys wrestle together in practice all the time, but we wanted to make sure they got a handful of matches on the national stage. And then they both also went into the open weight and both had a great showing in that one. The open weight, Damian and Perry ended up being 1 and 2 again, but they switched orders. That's a rivalry I would love to see for a couple years until they both enter the adult division.
Yeah. They've both got good clubs behind them. George is bringing back Salt City Sumo, and George is a great competitor. And then San Antonio, you've got Caleb Backus down there as a good heavyweight for Perry to practice against. And both of those guys just absolutely love the sport. So it's great to see them bringing in some youth and making sure they can really expand it as much as they can.
Exactly. Yeah, and in Salt City, they also have Rob McConkey, who last year got openweight silver and heavyweight bronze. Another absolute A-tier training partner for a heavyweight. And obviously in San Antonio, there's also Tom Zabel, possibly one of the best coaches in the entire country that you could even ask for. So both of those kids have some good infrastructure for support. In addition to like the other clubs like Antioch and Iron Mountain, I'm super jazzed for the growth that we're seeing there. And wanted to give a shout out to the youth sponsor. Let's see, how many tournaments now? I think every single tournament that's had a youth division in the last year that I can think of, John Jocks has decided, you know what? Yes, here's my cause. I'm going to donate all the medals, or I'm going to donate something or other. John has been everywhere that youth sumo gets discussed. All of a sudden, just John Jocks is suddenly there, and he's helping everybody put on youth sumo, given plenty of advice on how to grow and how to start youth sumo. I think that I think he deserves a huge amount of credit for the fact that we've kind of resurrected youth competition, and just the amount that it has grown in just the last few months. I think he deserves a huge amount of credit for that.
I strongly agree. Even though he will not accept it, he asked everyone to keep it anonymous for that. But go ahead and do that.
I know a couple times there's been an anonymous donor who's donated the youth medals, and it's like, yeah, come on, man. Not every time's anonymous, so that's why I'm comfortable calling him out.
Yeah, he will not take the credit for it, but it's he's done so much for the sport. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of youth sumo, why don't we use that to segue into the event that was just 2 weeks later, probably the fastest turnaround for like out-of-state travel, let alone sumo travel for me. Just 2 weeks later, Nate Hudson of Tennessee Sumo, he's a teacher at Antioch High School, and was like, you know what? I love sumo. I want to have more sumo happen. How about I start a club at school? So he gathered together a couple kids, couple guys clearly from like the wrestling team, couple guys that I don't know. My interpretation is it's similar to like adult sumo in general, where it's a fair mix of anime nerds and wrestling nerds. And sumo is kind of where you can get some overlap there. Was that kind of your take on the guys that we got to meet?
Yeah, it definitely was. You got, and I mean, like that's a lot of wrestling nerds are anime nerds. Half the kids on my team will walk up to me, "Hey, did you see the new episode of Record of Ragnarok?" And so it's a very tight knit group already. But I love to see what Nate's been able to do, especially getting the school behind it, having them sponsor the singlets, having them sponsor the dojo,
Yeah.
making sure that they've got really good equipment. They have their own singlets for this high school sumo team, which is awesome. And some people get mad because they got the covered torso, which I personally think that it's a great idea. It's a little bit more welcoming for people that are new to the sport. And especially for high schoolers, you throw on that singlet and you're ready to compete. And I think it's awesome. Yeah.
They like you mentioned, the school has like helped pay for this club. I think that's nuts. That's such a cool thing that that Nate's been able to accomplish down there. They have a new dojo, like straight from the official the official vendor, right? Like that's the nationals vendor that we were talking about.
Exactly. They're more set up to host nationals than almost every other club because they have a brand new dojo.
Yep, exactly. That's just so wild to me. And the singlets, like, we I think we've had this conversation in the past. I know Sumo Dan is all about everybody's got to go traditional and stuff, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you know, you got people that are only interested in sumo because, you know, okay, I guess if I can wear shorts underneath, or I guess if I can wear a singlet, you know, I think that, you know, sumo kind of takes all stripes there. But yeah, the wrestling singlet idea, I hadn't seen that before, and the designs that they got on those are cool as hell regardless, right?
Yeah.
Like,
do you want me to go grab one so I can show you what those designs are?
Yes, you actually did get one.
30 seconds. Yeah, of course. I forced Nate over there to sell me a singlet. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
So the event itself, Nate invited us down to Nashville. Me, Kyle, Nick Ton, Andrew Roden, and Kalen, along with the Iron Mountain students, came along. Just a great time. The tournament itself was less formalized, and we kind of started the day with a training seminar to like talk about like different exercises in sumo and run a practice together. But yeah, the one of the jokes of the day was that Kyle was pestering. Kyle, I was just saying, one of the jokes of the day was that you were pestering, like, those are pretty cool singlets. I want one, please.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm heavily involved in wrestling, so I'm just like, I can actually wear this for a tournament.
Right, yeah.
Also, like, before anyone asks, he does not have any left. I basically forced him to sell me the last one. But yeah, it's got the bears on the front. That's the Japanese word for bear, and then it has Antioch Sumo on the back, and it's just a really cool design.
Yeah, they're so slick. This is one thing that I've kind of like in the back of my mind hoped would develop a little bit more over the years, is like teams having like team representation and like fighting for your club, or you know, whatever group you can have to like get some friendly rivalries started. And I know that there's definitely more of that in Texas because those guys see each other more often. They can travel together and stuff. But I love that team identification.
But credit where it's due on that, Corey Morrison made Zekin for Dallas Sumo Club. And that kind of forced everyone else. It's like, well, they've got Zekin, we got to get them. So
everybody knows who's on the Dallas team. Well, how come not everybody knows who's on my team?
Yeah. I'm not sure who did it first, Dallas and Corey or Jake in Ohio. But either way, you show up to a tournament, you either have that red Zekin with the white letters or the black Zekin with the purple. And it's like, well, he's on Ohio, he's on Dallas. So I think that's great to promote some teamness here. The singlets are another great idea, that it's just you've got a whole team identifier. Unfortunately, it was basically an in-house tournament when we went down to the Kuma Sumo Bash. But still, it was just an awesome thing to see. Being
so close to nationals, I think that was one of the things. But like, it was the first tournament that group had put on. So like
Mhm.
obviously there's room to grow. But yeah, I think we had a total of 6 competitors. There were 3 lightweights, 2 middleweights, and a heavyweight. And yeah, while you were off grabbing the singlet, I was just mentioning like the rough order of the day. We put on a seminar to just like talk through like how do you run a sumo practice? What are things to work on that help make you better at sumo and such. And I think that was fun for the kids to see, because I don't think that I think that even if they've practiced sumo and stuff like that, with Nate, and they've seen stuff on TV, they had 2 national champions and one of the premier coaches in the country show up, with you and Roden showing up there, and then Nick out of Houston. Like, there, as far as adults go, they had some great resources, and I think those kids learned a lot.
Yeah. And like you're saying, all credit to Nate where it's due. But he's just got into sumo within the last, or just got into coaching sumo and doing sumo within the last year or so.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we just tried to give him as much support as we can, and just trying to grow the sport at the youth level, I think, is a great idea. And so
Yeah, totally. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, one of the one of the other things that I thought was really fun about that was we were it was like 6 competitors, maybe 5 or 6 adults. A little bit of family came along to hang out. Um, but we had this entire full gym with our little mat right in the middle, and it was almost like oppressively quiet in there. Just because it was so much more room, and it was all hard surfaces and echoey, and it was like, well, we kind of feel like we're like just in the middle of a cave on this one. And halfway through the tournament, Kaylin, out of Iron Mountain, she's just like, "Hey, let me just like put some Japanese drums on my phone and put that next to the camera." And suddenly the whole atmosphere was like looser, and we were like having more fun with it, making more noise and cheering for each other. And yeah, like that helped a lot.
yeah, it's
So
always a huge
simple.
help when you can have music during a tournament, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I call it the drone of competition, is what I like to call it. When there's
sure.
no music and it's just a few small people talking to people they know, but it's kind of this hum that's very, very constant. But
Mhm.
then once you have some music in there, people start listening up and getting ready. And I mean, Jake makes fun of me, but I listen to a lot of music before I'm ready to compete. So I'm just over there dancing, trying to get loose. And it's just so I can get warmed up in a more fun way that doesn't allow me to get in my head.
Yeah, sure. I don't make fun of you for doing it. I make fun of you for what you listen while doing it.
Good music,
Disney songs,
of course.
obviously. What else was? Well, yeah. um, but no. Let's see. So let me get the results here real quick, because I did want to give a shout out to the guys that we got to see wrestle. So as mentioned, for nationals, we did have Josh and Ben out of Iron Mountain come down. And let's see, the other 2 lightweights that we had out of Antioch were David and Ariel. David, very clearly a experienced collegiate style wrestler. He took that division. I think he won every single match in that division too. But yeah, very promising lightweight. And I was able to talk to him for a minute, and he mentioned this was something that he wanted to try because wrestling season was over. And he's like, I just want to try some grappling. Oh, cool. I can do this at school. I don't have to go anywhere else. I'll give it a shot. And pretty good at it. What did you think of David and Ariel, the 2 lightweights that we hadn't met before?
So I thought watching David wrestle was awesome, specifically because as a folk style wrestler, it's just great to see how he goes out and competes, and uh, very, very good at staying low. Very much reminded me of how Edibar wrestles.
Sure.
Not afraid to just dive on a leg, because at that weight, you can pick up your opponent. It's not like when
Mm.
you were in heavyweight and trying to dive on a 500-pound man's leg and you just start lifting. It's like, oh, that's heavier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So watching how he wrestled, and the other thing I really liked watching him was his competitive spirit. Would not slow down, and would not. Every match it was go time, and I loved it when you can. It's very different for me, because this was the first tournament I ever went to other than nationals last year because of an injury or a disease that I couldn't compete in, but like just from the start, I
Sure.
was never expecting to. So it's very weird. I'm sitting there just watching all this sumo happening, and I'm like, I really need to hop in this ring.
Yeah. That is, yeah,
Almost just
that's
like sitting there like the Dave Chappelle character, just Y'all got any tournaments?
Yeah. Y'all got any heavyweights I could practice with? And we did actually, because we had Zach Sparkman come down, another heavyweight that it was my first time meeting him. But yeah, he got some great heavyweight reps with you. I think the two of you had some fun wrestling.
Yeah.
Other lightweight though, Ariel. Ariel, I could tell didn't come from as established an athletic background, but he knew exactly what he was trying to do, and I thought it was impressive how what's the word I always use when I talk about Joe Ponsetto? Like squirrely. He can grab on, and he got a couple wins over guys bigger than him just by like hanging on and being like, it doesn't matter if we both go down as long as you touch first, I win. So that ring awareness was pretty cool seeing from a beginner there. That was, both those guys were awesome, and you could tell that Nate's been teaching him exactly what the rules of sumo are, to what stuff you should be thinking about when it's go time, when you're in the clutch situation like that.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that's very hard for a lot of people to adapt to, especially wrestlers, because in wrestling, the goal is to end up down with you on top. Doesn't matter if you touch your knees or whatever to get there.
Sure.
But when you're in that sumo ring, I don't really care if I secure the takedown, as we call it in wrestling. I care that you hit the ground first. And that's one of the weirdest things to try to adapt to. So, but it's obviously a lot of the takedowns still cross over very well, but it is definitely a different style.
Yeah. And also at lightweight, we had Ben out of Iron Mountain, who had he had more competitive matches this time around, rather than nationals where he was the only one in his division. I thought it was cool seeing him against guys more his size. We just don't have other youth lightweights that have showed up regularly. So it was kind of new, and I hope that he got a lot out of the experience. He took a pretty bad lump in one of the fights. Took a little bit to gather himself, but he finished out the division, made sure that he got his last match in, and he just squeaked one out over Ariel to take second place. So the lightweights finished David in first, then Ben, then Ariel. But yeah, all three of them had a great showing. It was a lot of fun to see. Those guys going live in sumo for one of the first times with guys their size.
And Ben, I want to give a huge shout out to Ben. He's going to all these tournaments, every tournament he can get to. I was talking to Kaylin, his mom. He's basically in charge of the club. He's just like, hey, can we go here, go here, go here? And, excuse me. And of course, Kaylin's out there trying to support her son as much as she can. So seeing Ben out there, who's undersized for a youth lightweight, he's probably 30, 40 pounds under.
He'll get there, but yeah, he definitely hit the like stretch phase of growing before he's hit the filling out phase. But yeah, he's getting there. He's got a long time before he's finished growing. So we'll see where he ends up. But yeah, he definitely makes up for a lot of it with fighting spirit. Yeah, get some water there, buddy. So
cold.
Along with let's talk about middleweight here a little bit too, but also out of Iron Mountain we have Josh Sparks. And between Ben and Josh, those guys are all over the place. I think they've been to other than SoCal, they've been to like basically everything in the last stretch here. But yeah, Josh and Antioch Sumo's Jorge went. It was just the two of them in middleweight, so they did best of three. And Jorge, similar to David, he's got some athletic background for sure. What did you think of seeing Jorge for the first time?
Very, very impressed. Obviously, I've seen Josh wrestle a few times, but it was awesome seeing someone with definitely an athletic background coming in. Very, very good at staying low and knew very much where his body position was.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Jorge, super strong pusher as well. That was real impressive. Yeah. And he beat Josh, who's Josh, like we mentioned with Ben, he's still got a little bit of filling out to do for sure. But as he stands at middleweight, he's definitely got the basics of the techniques down. You know, he's got good ring awareness. He's got some pretty when he tries throws, you can kind of see he knows what he's trying to do, even if the other guy's stronger than him. But yeah, I'm really excited for where the Iron Mountain kids are going to go.
Josh is always a fun guy to watch wrestle. My only issue with how he wrestles is that he knows what he's looking at. He just doesn't really have anyone to show him how to actually do it. So watching him wrestle, I've watched it. It's like, I know what you're trying to do there, but you're just going about it just a little bit wrong, and it's causing the issue there. So
well, that's what we need, seminars like the morning session. We need that experience with the grown-ups, right?
Yeah. And I mean, having that seminar thing, in my opinion, was really good because gave everyone a little bit of time to warm up and get ready to wrestle and everything.
Yeah.
Didn't take all day. We knew we only had a few matches to get through, so I think it filled out the day, but it didn't go on too late. It was just basically 2-hour sessions, so it was very easy to get through.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, especially coming off of nationals, it was like, oh, that was lovely. That was a nice little proper sized meal. Let's see, and then at heavyweight we had Oliver. He was the only heavyweight, so there was no like heavyweight division. But then when we got to open weight, we had 5 competitors. Ben sat out. Like I mentioned, he took some lumps and finished off his division, but it was the right decision that was the end of his day there. So we had David and Ariel from lightweight, Jorge and Josh from middleweight, and Oliver from heavyweight, all competing against each other. And there were some awesome matchups here. Final results, we had Jorge took first, David took second, and Josh took third. But I'm pretty sure everybody got wins in the division. It wasn't like everybody had one or two that they were able to take home. And yeah, Jorge and David was the matchup for me. Those two, Jorge's a decent bit bigger than David, but they still had some very competitive grapples there.
Yeah, and it was just great to see them go back and forth. Yeah, I think you're right that everyone got a couple wins at least, and
I know just... Ariel and Oliver split their series because, like I mentioned, Ariel was great with his ring awareness, and Oliver, that's the thing that he needs to work on. So Oliver, he's got great size. Nobody really moved him. It was more like, you get into a grapple or a tripping situation or something like that, but nobody like pushed him straight back when he didn't want to be pushed back. He had the size on his side, but he and Ariel got into a couple scraps where they were like tied up and tangled at the edge. And yeah, Oliver put his foot out before Ariel went down. And like, I remember that was one where I think they had to do it. They had to do a rematch, and did they even have to do a second rematch or something? Because they were like so close.
They had to do that first rematch because I vehemently disagreed with the ref's decision, and I still think I was right. And Nick's doing the best he can, but it's I was immediately just like, that's not what I think happened. So got back into the center of the ring. Second time we had the moto, I raised my hand again. We talked for a few minutes. I realized you're right, I'm wrong. So we only had to do the one rematch.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, it was funny that it was just almost the same thing happened again. I remember they tangled at the edge, and then somebody's foot went out. But no, either way. I remember
because I was sitting right next to the first one, and I saw the foot plant, and I'm like, "Yep, he's out." And then Nick says, "I don't think so."
Yeah, and yeah, that's actually a good thing to segue into that I think is really cool. Is despite not having a huge number of competitors, with all the adults that we had that turned out just to support the club and help learn stuff, we had a full four judge side panel. We had one of the top referees in the country. Nick's been playing Gyoji as much as anybody. Mm-hmm. And just the infrastructure of the event was set up to give as real and full an experience as possible. And I think that really, at least to me, it seemed like it was lending a lot of gravitas to the situation. It was like this is a serious thing, even if it's a small thing. This is what it will be like if you want to stick with the sport.
Even though it's basically an inter club tournament, or just 2 clubs that were competing.
Yeah,
we didn't have a ton of experience Shinpon there, but all of us are heavily involved in sumo, so that was great to see. And then Yeah, like you're saying with Nick, outside of nationals in the Open, it's either Packy Tom or it's him. So he's one of those top 3 guys that you will try to make it to any tournament, even though he can't really compete with his injuries.
Yeah, and like mentioned before, Andrew Roden was there. He's hurt, but he's also a multi-time national champion, one of the best in the entire country. Having you, former open weight national title holder, there, like there was a lot of experience to draw on. So yeah, I thought it was awesome that the kids got to see some of the best in the country, teach them a little bit about how it's done. So
yeah. And the nice thing for the guys that like to compete or that are the adult competitors that were there is they've got the full dojo set up. It's brand new. It's really nice. So one of the things that a lot of people have trouble practicing was work on the Tawara. So I tried to teach the kids a little bit about that and just as much as I could, just how to fight off of it. And
yeah,
it's not like a normal wrestling ring where if you step out, there's nothing to stop you. The Tawara, it's kind of like in Hinamaro Sumo where they say it's a mountain to get over if you're a sumo wrestler.
yeah.
It's big, but it's a mountain.
it's probably the thing that's most unique about sumo, and it's the thing that, like, until they had that dojo, those kids had the Antioch kids had just never felt what that's like, and like what you can do with it, how you can use it as a tool to stay in the match or reverse your opponent, etc. Just yeah, super cool, and I'm glad that we did some focus on that in the training. That was fun. Also, we got some pretty great chicken after the event. So wait, we had great fried chicken at both of these events, didn't we?
We did. I'm still more of a fan of Korean fried chicken than the Nashville hot chicken. We went to, it's just called Chicken, Chikin, in Orlando. It's one of my favorite restaurants. Every time I go to Orlando, I try to hit hit them up. And I kind of forced Jake to go there after, because I was just.
No, you didn't force anything. I think we were doing that thing where it was like, this is the group that we're hanging out with this afternoon. Where should we eat? Oh, I don't know. What sounds good? And then Kyle's like, fried chicken. We're going to this place.
Yeah, because I was handling weigh-ins and Jake showed up and I was just, it wasn't really an option. I was going. It was, does anyone want to come with me?
Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah, and then same thing in Tennessee. It's like, I need some good fried chicken. Where are we going? What was the name
Nashville
of that one?
hot chicken.
Is that Prince's?
Yes. Yeah. So of course it's Nashville, so we have to have Nashville hot chicken, and
of course,
Jake really liked it. I wasn't. I'm trying to start a food review channel, by the way. I'm going to start
specifically the fried chicken sandwich review channel.
The best fried chicken sandwich, I've said it before, I'll say it again, is in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's at Spicy Boys, right next to Justin's old sake shop.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best fried chicken sandwich in the country that I've had. If you have a better fried chicken sandwich and you can find it, you send it to me. I will.
He will mess up that fried chicken and then he will put it on the list. Yeah. No, I think that's hilarious. It's I think the last like 3 times that I've been traveling to the same place as you, it's like, I got to find some fried chicken around here. And then you go into your rant about Spicy Boys.
The 2 things that I always, my 2 favorite things are fried chicken and tea. So I'm just constantly, if there's a good, not even fried chicken, just chicken. So we've got out to have Korean barbecue a couple times, Jake and I'm always just like, yeah, let me get the chicken. I know I have to cook it myself, but
oh man, you're a man who knows what he likes. I can respect that.
I'll try anything. I'm one of those guys. If I go somewhere, I have to try whatever that place is known for. Yeah. Nashville hot chicken, Texas barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, whatever. But if we're going somewhere and I've already had the unique food or somewhere I've been a couple times, I need my fried chicken. I need to find it.
Yep. Preferably a type of. Yeah, preferably a type of fried a restaurant or something that isn't somewhere else, right? You got to get like the local fried chicken.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got to get the spicy, heavily sauced fried chicken, man.
Oh man. Well, before we get into the next show we're recording, Kyle's Fried Chicken Adventures, I want to give
You're making fun of me because I've got a list of fried chicken sandwiches. I
have lists and spreadsheets of dumber things, so I am not making fun of you.
Oh, we're both spreadsheet nerds. I've sent Jake I have a sumo spreadsheet of who I lost to, how I lost, and of course it's who I won to and how I won. But I don't really. I expect to win, so losing is what pisses me off, and that's what I've got.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
Big
like,
in
oh
red
yeah.
letters.
Well, how about every national title holder of anything in sumo ever? How about that spreadsheet?
And that's why
Coming along, by the way. It's coming along. We're not
I'm
complete
excited to
yet,
see
but I
it.
got most of it.
Jake's a huge spreadsheet nerd. That's actually how we first started talking. Was he posted something
It
about?
was, wasn't it?
Yeah, he posted something on the Grand Sumo Breakdown page, and he's like, "Does anyone happen to have any match records?" And I'm like, "I don't have everyone's, but here's mine for the last 2 years."
Here's everything I've ever done. Does that help?
Yeah.
Oh,
And of course, I've got it in a color-coded Excel spreadsheet, so Jake fell in love with it.
yep. Instant best friends. But yeah, so let's give some shout outs here to everybody that helped out with these events and such. Starting with my wife for letting me travel twice in 1 month with a infant at home. Wow, that I understand how lucky I am. I can tell you
We're
that.
all extremely thankful for your wife.
Yes, the entire United States sumo community is very grateful for you, Katie, and letting me travel while you take care of the baby for a couple days in a row. But for nationals,
See, Jake and I were joking before we started the podcast because he was talking about that, and then of course I'm 24 years old and single.
yeah.
So for the
So
last
you're
like
fine.
I think it's for the last 3 months, every 2 weeks I've gone somewhere that's just out of state. Like I got back from Kansas City last night. Before that, it was Nashville. Before that, it was Orlando.
Before that, it was San Diego,
No,
San
it was San
Antonio.
Antonio, or no, San Diego, then San Antonio, and then it was some jiu-jitsu tournament somewhere. So I'm just
Jesus.
constantly on the move. That's why I call myself the sumo nomad, because I like to travel.
Exactly. You probably spend as much time at sumo tournaments as you do in your own home. So,
I love it.
But speaking of Kyle, shout out to the entire Iron Wave crew plus Ryan White. Is he an honorary Iron Wave guy? How
He
does that
hasn't
work?
admitted it yet. We keep saying, "Are you in our club or not?" And he's just like, "Well." And so then I tell him to shut up because I don't want to listen to him complain.
There you go. Okay. For the purposes of this podcast, we'll say the entire Iron Wave crew, which includes Ryan White, Cornelius, Karinga, Dustin, everybody who helped put on the show. Riley, the last second sound guy that showed up with the PA system so that we could actually have a professional PA at nationals. That all fell together at the last second. But yeah, thanks to Ian was one of the other big helpers at the event. I think Melissa was the main photographer that we had there. There's plenty of reach out if you don't find photos on Facebook, but there's tons of photos from nationals floating around out there. So thank you to everybody who took pictures, and thank you to everybody who came in general. But yeah, let's see. Also, who was on referee staff?
Jake, both these tournaments are on your YouTube channel, right? At Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Correct. Yes.
So
I'll make sure I put that in the description.
If you've heard us talk about any of these matches and you missed them, they're on his YouTube channel. Just scroll down. They're two of his most recent videos that are about Pro Sumo.
I'm pretty sure Nationals has like twice as many views as anything else on the channel too. It's thousands of people have checked that out.
I know it's a lot of people like me, for example. Before I even get on the plane, I'm sitting there fast forwarding, recording my matches, and then I edit them down on the plane. And of course, I sit there and hate myself because of everything I messed up. But
sure, it's a bittersweet experience. But yeah, it's what you got to do to satisfy yourself. I get it. Yeah, so let's see. Referee crew, our Gyojis at Nationals, we had Tom Zabel, Andrew Freund, Packy Van Evans. Big thank you to everybody who helped as side judges. I'm gonna forget a few. John Jocks was kind of like honorary head shimpan. He's been out to the last couple I think the last 3 national events. He's dragged himself over to the mainland from Hawaii and has just shows up and oozes wisdom to everyone around him. It's a huge benefit to have him there. Somebody that's been doing this for like 50 plus years. Just incredible. Who else do we have on side judge duty? I think I can look it up, but who do you remember?
I don't have it in front of me right now, and I've got major CTE from taking all these headbutts over the years. So
okay. Well, thank you to all of our side judges. But yeah, so and Orlando Indoor Soccer, our venue, all the sponsors that helped make this happen, like 1010 Brewing. But yeah, I think it's very fair to say that this nationals, with the adversity that we had to go through, no, I'm not even going to say it that way. This nationals was a success regardless. It was a lot of fun. I think we managed to like have more completed brackets than any event I've ever seen. Yes, there were troubles that were put in front of us, but that's not an excuse or an explanation or anything. It was just a good nationals. It was a lot of fun, tons of matches, just an A+ overall.
Also want to thank Iron Life Athletics for giving us the mats for the day.
Yeah.
Came down there and set them up. Didn't charge us a single thing for that. So they were huge help on that. Jiu-Jitsu and Strongman Gym in Orlando. Great people there. So.
Yep, absolutely. For the Kuma Sumo Bash, as mentioned, we had Kalen from Iron Wave come out, Zach Sparkman, Andrew Roden, and Kyle were the side judges. Nick Ton from Houston was our Gyoji. Came out in his nice traditional robe and everything that ended up getting damaged on the day. It certainly wouldn't have been a match between Kyle and Jake that was the cause of that by any means. That would be ridiculous.
No, absolutely not. I definitely didn't step way too far back. Like Nick, I still think Nick was in my way, but
it can be two things. But yes, and then also, of course, thank you to Nate Hudson of Tennessee Sumo and Antioch High School Sumo Bears. Just put on a beautiful debut tournament, showed us a great time around Nashville. Looking forward to where youth sumo goes from here, because that, if there's one thing that we can take away from March 23 and all the sumo that happened, youth sumo is hopping right now, and that's I'm excited to see it continue on the way up here. But
well, Jake, I think that's all the time we have. Anything you want to say before I leave us out?
Yeah,
here?
you can find me at Grand Sumo Breakdown on. Oh, quick, last thing. Next tournament is going to be a bitchin' one. In Dallas, we have the Rollertown Showdown. There will be a preview coming up for that in the next week or so here with me and Corey Morrison of Dallas Sumo. Do not miss that one. If you want some idea of what it's going to be like as far as production value, go check out last year's Cowboy Cup. Corey does not mess around when it comes to production value.
Corey does an awesome job. We kind of touched on it earlier that Jake's putting together some graphics for every wrestler that signs up early. So, and it's very, very unique for a premise. It's they're doing a draft the day before, basically picking teams, and then you're going to go round robin against the other team.
Yeah.
Placing one after the other. Just it's almost exactly like a pro basher. You've got your east side and your west side, and then at the end of the day, you're tied with someone on your team. You're doing a playoff to figure out who's the winner of the tournament. So I'm very, very excited to see how we do this.
Yeah, there will be an individual winner, but also like the unlike pro sumo, the east and west are going to be they're also going to be teams. So you're going to have half of the people in the room are supporting you and half of them are rooting against you. That whole friendly rivalry team motivation thing that we were talking about before, it's going to be turning that up to 11, and it's also going to have like all sorts of support from this brewery, from like local radio. It's I mentioned on the show all the time that Corey is doing great things in Dallas, and this is going to be a big one.
Yeah, I went down for their they had a demo at Rollertown for their first Japanese lager release. I went down there. Yeah. I was the only person from another club that showed up, but that was a great time. That's actually how they got the Garza brothers down there, and I'm sure Corey will talk more about this.
Yeah. Well, we tell that anecdote enough. Yeah.
Ben and Skin are the from Ben and Skin in the Morning. I want to say their radio show's called. I don't get it in Colorado, so I don't have to know. But.
I mean, it's local to Dallas, but like, yeah, it's two morning radio guys, and one of them is going to be like the co-captain of one team, and one of it's going to be the co-captain of the other team, and they're just gonna banter it up. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, and just the whole premise of having like two teams doing an open weight event against each other, just going to be a blast.
Yeah, we're not going to steal all of Corey's thunder for next week, but I just wanted to.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure we touched on that because it's going to be a very, very exciting and fun tournament, and we want to get as many people out there as possible because you're guaranteed. The more people that sign up, the more matches you're guaranteed to get.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be a
you're
pretty
guaranteed
big
15 matches. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. But I think that's probably our time today. I hear the baby crying in the other room, so that's generally the timer going off. No, he's fine. But thank you again for joining me, Kyle. Where can people follow Kyle's sumo adventures?
Follow me on Instagram at Sumo Nomad or Nomadic Sumo. One's just me traveling around and just messing around, and then Sumo Nomad's my main competition page with everything that's on there. Want to thank Jake again for hopping on my show, Amateur Sumo Breakdown. I'm really happy he was able to join me today.
I got to get some like backup, like some alternate credits music or something like that for that.
Welcome to Amateur Sumo Breakdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No,
instead of taiko drums, it's just like a drum set or something like that. Yeah,
we just gotta get the sumo punks to come in and just. I'm not good at percussion anyway, but no, thank you so much, seriously, Jake, for having me on, and happy we can talk again. Even though I've seen you like every 2 weeks for the last like month and a half, so
yeah,
getting kind of tired. I miss you.
It's weird falling asleep without sharing a hotel room with Kyle. So I don't know. Where are you staying in Dallas, by the way? I just for no reason. No, I'll let you go here. But yeah, Roller Town Showdown coming up on the 29th of April. Otherwise, just check out Sumo 411. That's something I got to call out more often here. Sumo411.com is a new website from the aforementioned national title holder Kellyanne Ball. Just straight up a calendar. It's that simple. It's a calendar with every event that she can get her hands on is on there with details and links where to find that stuff. Bookmark that. That is just like instantly one of my top resources. So check that out and keep an eye out for more previews and recaps on here. But thank you, Kyle. It'll be
every international tournament, even like the Scottish.
Yeah, even the international stuff. Exactly.
So it's if you're a fan of amateur sumo or a competitor and you're like, hey, I'm going to be in this country, I wonder if there's a tournament. Kelly is doing her absolute best without speaking any of these other languages to try to get you that information. So
yeah. Well, inevitably in 2 or 3 weeks when I have you back on the show, we'll talk about that then. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, Jake.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.